Cameras. Everybody knows about them and has used one before. Already they're a pretty impressive invention. But what if they could be built out of logic gates and scrap mechanics? In today's video, I will show how I made video transmission with TVs and cameras. The story all started when I wanted to display something on a screen on a CPU I built. So, about 2 years ago, I built this, which is a screen displaying what is in the RAM attached to it. The CPU writes line by line what it wants on the screen, and from that, I made a script to do this. I know, impressive, right? Yeah, it's not the best. But this was the first thing I built with a logic gate screen on it. The next thing I built is a lot larger. While this looks like a whole CPU in and of itself, which it technically is, all this does is compress the data from the RAM into one frame and sends it to this TV attached here. Now, this screen uses serial technology to turn that information back into a frame. Here's how it works. First thing it does is send over the data, like this. And after the data is sent over in a serial fashion, it is then written to a serial receiver, such as this one. And then, that serial receiver is sent to another serial receiver because there's a lot of downtime in getting new information. So I thought to myself, why not make a camera system for this? Small note, I will be using Kiessling's Logic Tools mod to show the frequency of a connection, which shows the frame rate of each TV. I also use ModPack wireless routers for optional wireless transmission. For this TV, there's a 2-pin input, one for telling it when the data is here, or the start of a frame, and the other is for the frame data. This is how serial information is transmitted. So, I stole parts from the GPU and made this TV camera. Yes, it is very slow, only 0.63 FPS. But at the start of this whole thing, the only option for having sensors to an output was one-to-one connection. And it is a pain to wire 64 things each time you want it to be connected. 2 is a lot easier to hook up, even if it brings the frame rate down from 40, which is the maximum possible in this game. As you can see here, it can be greatly improved frame rate wise. And so I thought, why not have 3 pins, with 2 data pins having half the screen data each? So I built that, which doubled the frame rate to about 1.25 FPS. But then I thought, I can keep doubling the pins, and thus the frame rate. So then it was 5 pins and 2.25 FPS. And finally, I was down to a 9-pin system at 4.45 FPS, which is what you see here. At this point, I turned it into a cool looking camera and TV, which you can see here. So then I looked at my camera, and I was like, hey, I don't need 3 frame buffers. So I shrunk it down to this thing, which was finally able to reach the full 5 FPS achievable by this screen. The final hurdle to overcome with this technology, after getting a viewable frame rate, was to get rid of this annoying flashing every time it writes the frame. It wasn't an issue at lower frame rates, but now individual ticks matter. So I hooked up a pulse extender onto the front of the screen, and that got rid of the flashing. I called this image persistence. And now I bring it back to where it started, displaying information from a CPU. I hooked the guts of the smaller camera onto that screen from earlier. Now, I can plug in a screen somewhere else with these 9 pins, or even have it broadcast with ModPack wireless routers. This thing on screen here does the exact same thing as this giant thing from earlier. And I also made a camera expansion card that does the same thing in reverse, taking images from the camera into RAM, which the CPU can access. Cameras and scrap mechanic are really cool. The image persistent screen and smaller camera will be available in the description of this video, available on the Steam Workshop for y'all to enjoy. Let me know what you think of the new set featured in this video. Thanks for watching. This will also be the last video of the year.